I am resident of Colorwood for YouTube, Joel Sains. I'm joined by my buddy Gordon Dymowski. I'm my buddy Patrick McCray. We're here to review the movie Rollerball from 1975, uh, starring James Caan. I really like James Caan in this role. I read somewhere he said he didn't really, he felt with the character that he couldn't go nowhere with it. But to me, he seemed to play the
Well,
character to perfection, in my opinion.
I
But what do
mean,
you?
Jonathan is not a man of great intellectual nuance.
Right.
He's a man of sensitivity. He's a man who experiences a lot of change in the movie. But I think Jonathan himself, to be able to do what he does, has a fairly restricted emotional palette. Even he's not Sonny Corleone at all, and or the dad in Elf. And so as he goes about dealing with these challenges, there just sort of his usual bag of tricks as an actor isn't necessarily there. And so maybe that's what Khan was talking about. What did you read? What do you remember?
Well,
This was in Wikipedia. So,
yeah,
but he'd remarked that he couldn't really, and it quoted him as saying he really couldn't get a handle on the character.
yeah.
I don't think there's much character to get a handle on.
Well, here's the thing. I actually think he did, maybe without even realizing it. Maybe What do you guys think, though? Before I get my thoughts on this.
I think it's a very subdued performance in the right way, in the way that like if you play Neil Armstrong or something, you're not going to be. It's not Sammy Davis Jr. The people like that are picked for those jobs because of their stoicism. And so I think it's what I like about the part about Khan's performance in it is that it is so unaffected, that there's very little acting in the movie. He's soft spoken. He is, he saves his brutality for very specific places in very strategic ways, which is why he's been able to survive for so long. He doesn't survive because he's a madman, because he's moon pie. He survives because he is so methodical and is meditative, but is able to take action. So I think almost any other actor of the era would have put in a performance in the piece. I mean, imagine Kirk Douglas or something like that in this. I love Kirk, but he would have gritted it, through the whole thing, and it would have gotten very predictable and boring. But by essentially here he goes.
I think when he comes back, throw in a reference about professional wrestling. See if that gets his attention.
And that's how Diamond Dallas Page did it.
Yeah. Everyone knows that.
All right. Sorry, go ahead.
Anyway, what I think I was saying was that it would have been this performance or something that he would have turned in, but he doesn't do that. And so Jonathan, he feels like a real person, and it is in keeping with the 1970s, which did question everything. It really questions what an athlete of this caliber in this age would be, and I like that. I think it's in a lot of ways. So I teach a lot of athletes. It is an excellent character study, and it actually reminds me of a lot of the better athletes that I teach. In that there is a pleasant and dignified and intelligent stoicism that and a friendliness, but a stoicism that a number of them have, and I'm really proud of them for that. There's some really excellent athletes that I have the opportunity to work with.
Gordon?
Let's see. Yeah, I think James Caan is doing. He does an admirable job. I think it's tough because a movie like this is it's less a plot and more of like an extended tone poem, because like
Yeah.
it's and you don't want someone who's going to be like a traditional movie like this. Would he would be he's brutal on stage, he's a good old boy, but he realizes, like, why are they asking me to leave? And he gets angrier and angrier, and you would see that anger throughout the film. I mean, it was one of the things that this film, watching it, left me. I didn't hate it, but it left me a little flat, because it feels like Norman Jewison, the director, it was almost like he was trying to decide whether this was a sports movie with kind of a sci-fi background, or a sci-fi movie that had sports in it. Because the actual rollerball sequences actually have like a drive to them, but here certain things just didn't. Con is the through line, but a lot of it just never really felt. There's really nothing to grasp on, but I don't think that was the point of the movie.
I see it as, I see it as a social. I hate to use the word satire, because that makes you think I'm talking about funny, and I'm not in this case. But it's very much it's the right kind of science fiction movie, where you take some tremendous element of society where it could go that way, and you portray it to its ultimate extent. And I read somewhere that this is about what happens when you trade a luxury for complacency. That you acquiesce to what the system's going to give you, as long as you can stay comfortable. And I think that's something a lot of people have run into. So it's very resonant on that level. And so the places where it stops, and you have the classical music and you have all of that, really, for me, hammer home that dichotomy, and that life is so slow in this controlled, antiseptic fashion until it's not. And so for me, it's I kind of I like that hard to pigeonhole quality, because it's Rollerball, and it's the only movie like it. And it's no movie really attempted to imitate its best qualities that way. They might take Death Sport 3000 or whatever and do that, but not really look at that balance like they do here.
No, I would say with this, what James Caan sort of brings across is what I feel sometimes Arnold Schwarzenegger's Running Man lacked. You have a character who isn't looking at, like, because from a sci-fi standpoint, this sport takes place instead of war, if I'm not mistaken. And so he doesn't go, well, why do you want me to retire? It's like taking, for example, for those who know who he is, and I'm sure many people do, it's like taking Michael Jordan during his Bulls run and go, hey, quit. Or Wayne Gretzky during his hockey career when he was in his prime. Hey, quit. I could go on, but you
Jeff
get
Striker,
the point.
that's
right. You get the point that I do love how James Caan portrays the character, because I disagree with Caan's analysis. He nails the character in every way, because you're playing an athlete in a sort of gladiator sport.
He's just come off playing Sonny Corleone. And I think he thinks, oh, I'm going to be doing an action. They want me to be Sonny. Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm something else completely.
Well, here's a question before I continue with point. Do you think he maybe misread the part a bit, or no?
I think he misread the part.
Yeah, and I think too, at that point in the 70s, you really, there were a lot of films that really weren't, because you had, and I was actually thinking about this movie before we talked, is that I think part of my issue with the film is that I think there's a lot of it that really resonates now, it's not just the obvious gladiatorial emphasis on sports, but like the fact that when they go and they get summaries of books, because the books are actually in this big central computer and they're planning to get rid of this information anyway. I've had conversations with grown, educated adults, none of whom are in this Skype room. And they've said, well, why do we need libraries? Everything's online anyway. And yes, that does deserve a Rowdy Piper style smackdown. So I think, but I think
they say this. These are.
Yes.
But by what definition are you using the term educated?
College educated.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough. 2 years of college is enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, libraries are important. They need to be around forever.
Mm-hmm. I didn't mean to be rude, Joe, but I think that when you're dealing with a script like this, which has these kind of ideas that are not, it's not like Soylent Green where you can say, okay, it's overpopulation. That's the thing that's going to be hammering down. It's not a police procedural with science fiction. It's not biological warfare with science fiction. It's a kind of sports. It's in the middle. I could see where Khan might not have thought he got the role, but this is like a Chauncey Gardner type of role where you don't need flash. You just need that very stable, very thin. It's that through line, and he does a really good job of maintaining that through line.
It's
and he has a nice chemistry in doing that with the other cast members.
Yeah.
The saltiness of John Houseman, who really thinks he has the world by the keister, but he doesn't. And then the really beautiful humanity of one of my favorite underrated actors of any time, but of that era especially, and that's John Beck.
Yeah.
John Beck is a guy who really needed to do more, or the work that he did needs to be seen more.
Yeah, he needed to be less of, hey, it's that guy, and more like, okay, he's like a well-known, respected character actor.
And the fact is, John Beck is a very fine actor. He's a very fine LA actor. But this happens all the time. It almost happened to Jonathan Frakes because he was too good looking. And because he was so good looking, he couldn't get certain parts and certain types of jobs. Because Frakes is a very funny man. I mean, an incredibly good comedian. And he so far has never really gotten to do that to the extent that he could. Frakes really almost any major comedic lead part just could have walked away with it.
Really?
Yeah, Jonathan Frakes, very funny man.
If you want a sense of, check out probably the best way for his direction to get a sense of humor. Check out Leverage. Any of the episodes he's directed. It's
really,
he manages to highlight the humor in the scripts, and it never feels like, it's funny,
Well, the humorous stuff with James Cromwell in and Marina Sirtis in Star Trek: First Contact. He handles really well. That's a movie we forget about as sort of being the Star Trek 4 of its era. I mean, it didn't have the lovability of the whales, but that movie had tremendous crossover appeal and was a major date movie for its time.
And Jewel, if you watch, if you choose to watch Leverage, because you can get it free with commercials on Amazon, season 2, I think it's episode 2, The Tap Out Job. It's all about MMA. I think you'll dig that. I don't think Jonathan Frakes directed it, but it's basically the premise of Leverage, and is a bunch of criminals get together, and it was made around 2008, so it's all about going after rich dudes who do nasty stuff.
Yeah.
And it was revived as Leverage Redemption. And if you do decide to do it, to watch Leverage, and I'd say watch a couple of seasons before you decide to do a podcast. I do have a friend who'd be, she is about as much of a fan of Leverage as I am. And I think it would be good to have her on, especially since you could probably put Patrick in his place. She's very opinionated.
Why do I need to be put in my place? What'd I do?
Oh, I'm kidding, Patrick. I apologize.
Okay. I mean, maybe I like the show. I don't know. That's fine. Do that.
I
Here I am
apologize.
disagreeing with you.
Oh,
Yeah, that's okay.
You know, yeah,
Okay.
let me rephrase that. She'll put Jewel in his place.
yeah. Most women do. So,
Yeah, my brain kind of did a thing there, so I do apologize for
It's
that.
okay. It's okay. It's okay.
okay. No, but I really
I guess I'm just surprised because Jewel actually went with the James Caan thing. I thought he was not going to like this movie.
no, I love this movie. I just disagree with Khan's premise. I think he nailed the role because here's the thing.
That's good.
10 years earlier, the person I could see in this role would be Paul Newman, or Charlton Heston even, but especially Heston. But James Caan in this role, he nails it to a T. I mean, here's this guy who he does not want to quit this sport. What he feels is he feels like most normal athletes would. Hey, my career is just getting started. I don't need to end this. And
You
you can
know, if they had made this movie 10 years earlier, I was going to sound crazy. There are two actors who worked very well together, and I can think of one of them who would have gotten the part and one of them who should have gotten the part, and it would have been amazing. The one who would have gotten the part is Tony Curtis.
yeah.
The one who should have gotten the part, and this is going to sound like a stretch, but I realize is Jack Lemmon.
Yeah. Lemon was that he was very
Because
athletic.
he would have worked the agility of having to be on the skates and all of that. And because when Lemon goes intense, he was really intense, but it's this quiet burning, but true ember.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I could see it. No,
I think it's good that I think it's good at the last minute Norman Jewison switched around the casting and swapped John Houseman and James Caan. Because they were originally supposed to play the other guy's part.
Well, from what I read, the jersey wouldn't fit on John Houseman. It was way too tight.
And it was just a distracting dose of sexuality.
And the other thing was, I guess Orson Welles insulted him once when he was on roller skates, and he absolutely refused.
Because Orson was so good as Moon Pie in the tests that they did. Houseman and Welles. God.
Yeah, that's like it's kind of like having me and you on this podcast, Patrick. It's just we have this great weird kind of chemistry. And Jewel gets to be Joseph Cotton and just sit back and laugh.
And Joseph Cotton he is the David Selby of his era.
Yeah, he is. Joseph Cotton, amazing actor. I really enjoyed this movie from start to finish. I think, again, I disagree with Khan's premise. I think because I grew up watching sports, not just wrestling, but football, basketball, hockey, and I grew up a sports fan. So I could see, to me, Khan nailed the athlete in general, the athlete's attitude in general, and I'm sure he realized that. To me, at least, I'd like to think he did.
Why did it do a thumbs down? It did this spontaneous thumbs down in the air while you were talking, Jewel. I'm sorry, but that wasn't for me.
Oh, wait, I did or Jewel
No, it did on my screen.
It's all right. It's all right. I really enjoyed Khan's. I really enjoyed Khan's take on the character. He really does a very good job with this, and I love the skate scenes. The way they're shot here are way better shot than in the remake, and really the plot of this movie is way better than the remake. It drives home.
Saying.
It drives home everything it wants to. You don't just have the athlete stepping back and not doing anything. He is going out and finding out, well, why do they want me to retire? I just want to know why. And then they won't tell him. And then he's trying to find out why. And then the love of his life, the woman he loved and wanted to be with, comes to him to try to convince him to quit. And he's like, why are you my prize? And I love that line. It's very, how do I put this? It's very Michael Jordan-esque. It's very champion-esque. It feels real, and it feels just to the point.
Well, because with a certain measure of success, I think there comes a real paranoia about being able to doubt the integrity of the people you're with. Especially if there is a disparity of income or a disparity of status or something like that. And it plays on that paranoia very honestly.
Yeah, and especially with the structure of the society, because it's all corporations running cities. There's no real sense of like it's all rich people, technicians, athletes, and then the hoi polloi. There's really no sense of like, and it's almost like the corporations have the ultimate say, not just in terms of like policy, for lack of a better term, but in terms of like interpersonal politics. And that's because, it's, Hausman has that speech towards the end where he basically says, well, Jonathan, you're getting a little too popular. But you also get the sense that, at least for me, it was less about, because like the question I had in my head is, well, if he's being called out for playing all the time, why are you firing him for being too much of an or getting too popular? But then I realized it's that it wasn't about him getting too popular. I think it was just there. It's like in Hausman's mind, it's probably like, okay, every good athlete has X amount of years. Hausman, Jonathan's up to his end. Get him out of here. It's more of like a like an old timey worker at like a factory who has, you've done your 25 years. Here's your gold watch. Skedaddle.
Well, and from an entertainment point of view, they don't have to deal with the embarrassment of him going downhill.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has lasted longer than anyone should have.
Now, I had never seen this movie before. I thought the guy who was his teammate or one of his teammates was going to betray him. No, that doesn't happen, which I was pleasantly surprised by. I enjoyed. I love the team camaraderie they have in this movie because, again, they make this movie a very fun sci-fi sports movie. It fits. I love all the scenes were filmed in Munich, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. The arena was especially, and I love the arena. The arena looks so good,
It's
and the
great
crowd is a very hockey type crowd, though they're watching rollerball, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting too because you look at those rollerball scenes and they're shot so well. They're really exciting, engaging, and they get more violent over the course of the film. But like, and at one point, people wanted to actually create like a rollerball franchise where you'd actually go for rollerball games. And Jewison was like, "Well, no, that's this whole movie is about how contact sports is stupid."
Yeah, it's one of the best ads for soccer I've ever seen.
And the great thing about rollerball is that there's really, you could watch this movie over and over. I don't think there are any set rules other than the writer was like, okay, we'll throw in motorcycles and a shot put and roller skates and just go with it.
The rules are to throw the rollerball into the thing and not get stopped doing it.
By the end, yeah, just to be the only man out there. I mean, they were willing to sacrifice absolutely everyone. Yeah. And the players were willing to sacrifice themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I really love how James Caan looks by the end. He looks like a man possessed. He's like, bring them all on.
He has, I really hope George Miller was taking notes. Because this has very much a, Max at the end of one of those movies kind of airs about it. That, this person has been through anything and everything and is going to keep going.
Yeah, really, really, really good. What's you guys' favorite scene in this?
I like the scene with Zero, actually. The attempt to retrieve information and it, completely imploding. I like, but I think any of John Houseman's scenes You know, I mean, God bless the 1970s, because it's an era where John Houseman can steal an action movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that about it.
Yeah, I think if I had to choose a scene, and I think it's just it's more the implication. It's when it's after the party and the rich people have that gun and they're shooting the trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's just like these are people who are so vapid, who have nothing better to do. I mean, they're so like ethically and creatively bankrupt. It's like, let's go shoot and set trees on fire.
It has a real metropolis feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of Fredder's friends up on the surface, you know, going to Yoshiwara and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite scene is the opening, just to set up to this whole thing, how the music fits in with the movie.
Oh yeah, the toccata and fugue, is they're just setting it up, and it's also orderly and
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost like, and normally the toccata and fugue is usually, at least for me, I usually relate it with horror. It's almost like church and very regal, and the way it is shot. It's almost like, this is, and it's funny because I think the first time they say corporate anthem, but in the second rollerball sequence is corporate hymn, which I think is very interesting to consider.
Isaac Asimov wrote a limerick, and I'm going to leave out the crucial words, but it goes like this. There was a woman from South Carolina who placed fiddle strings across her, and with the right size, what was sex became toccata and fugue in D minor.
I really like the match with Tokyo too. It showed how far how far the corporation was going to go to set up for the final match, the final rollerball match. I mean, that one was really, really brutal.
Not as brutal as the New York match, though.
No, the New York match was.
And the other favorite scene that I have is when Jonathan's talking to the new guys, and there's the one guy who's kind of sort of like, "Oh, I could take this guy," and Jonathan's talking. He's talking about keeping your eyes focused, and he hears the guy come around, and as the guy's about to deck him, he just does that and says, "Ears are important too." So remember that, Joel. Ears are important.
Well, and it really that says so much about Jonathan's character, and it foreshadows that Jonathan's paying attention. Yeah. Jonathan's very much paying attention. It's a movie that deals with sound a lot. The sound of the ball, really dealing with juxtapositions of the crowd going nuts, and then just total silence.
Mm-hmm.
And just one sound. Jewison's a great director, and it has that quiet meditativeness that you get when you get a Canadian to direct a science fiction sports movie. You know,
is there more sports movies you wish James Caan was in? Because I think he just did a really.
There's a really good one that was done a few years before, and you can find it on YouTube. Brian's Song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard of it. So,
Joel, you need to watch it.
Yeah,
you do. And there's also another later remake. Ignore that one. You need to see the original with James Caan and Gale Sayers and Jack Warden as George Hallis. And you will cry at the end of this, Joel. And you should not be ashamed. A good man always cries at the end of Brian's Song.
Yeah.
I cried at the end of Brian's Song.
Yeah. Gale Sayers, definitely give it a watch. I mean, he was a football player. So, I really love how they didn't just make the game look futuristic; they made the outdoors look futuristic as well. I know a lot of the films are shot in Munich, but did they use? I didn't read that they used any sort of studio techniques. Do you guys know that if they used any at all, or?
I know they used a couple of like corporate headquarters for the skyscrapers, like the corporate buildings, which I think because they're all steeped in that 70s. It's weird. This is one of the few science fiction movies from the 70s that doesn't feel very dated, even though a lot of it is tied into that, especially since now, we've had that kind of, we tend to have that 70s retro chic coming back every now and then. So
Yeah.
I tell you, just a fun movie. What do you guys give this 1 out of 10?
10. Easy. It's a great movie. It's a very underrated movie.
I'm going to give it an 8, mostly
Okay.
because I think for me it's not. I think there were times where I didn't feel as connected to the movie, but I think it's more because a lot of it is resonating with things now.
Yeah.
So that took me out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't say it's not like if this were the I did watch the trailer for the remake. Now that is a piece of hot garbage, and I would give that a 1. But I can't give this 1. I can give it an 8 because I think an 8 is fair.
Yeah, this definitely gets a 10 for me. I mean, this is clear cut better than the remake. The remake was not a great told story. They get you interested in James Caan's character, and James Caan's keeps you interested in his own character too, like a great actor should. I mean, I wish he would have appreciated the character a little more that he played, because I love this character. It's really fun to watch him. So I have nothing more to add, guys, if you do.
It's a great movie. Go watch it.
Yeah, it's free on Tubi. Rollerball. I'll leave a link in the description.
And it's 1975 Rollerball, not the 2002 Rollerball.
Yeah, it's the good
Is it that
Rollerball.
late into things? It was 2002. Yeah, it was 2002 they made this.
Yeah, because I think John McTiernan actually ended up going to jail because of it. Federal prison, yeah, because he had lied about sending. There's some issues with the production of that film, and I think he sent like a private investigator to check out one of the funders, and he lied about it in court or something like that. It was like stupid, but it was like, yeah, he was.
Because John McTiernan was a good director, and I kind of wondered what happened to him.
Well, I don't think he went for like years and years. I think it was like one of those like 18-month deals.
But that's, jeez.
Let's see. What's the?
Well, at least he's not the director of Jeepers Creepers. That's all I got to say.
Never saw it.
Just
yeah.
Read about the film on Wikipedia, and I'm just going to leave that there, Patrick.
There was a person I really didn't respect, and he was a big fan of that movie. So, kind of put it like that.
Yeah. The director of that movie is a piece of shit. We'll say Jeepers Creepers. Yeah.
I can explain to you after the podcast.
Yeah, I'll be all ears.
Yeah, it's not nice. But yeah, this movie is a great movie. Rollerball is. There's going to be some links. Obviously, link to the movie to where you can go watch it. Link to Gordon Dymowski's Amazon page is going to be in the description box. Link to Patrick McCray's Dark Shadows Daybook of Bow is going to be in the description box. Guys, Friday night, 9:45, we're doing, what is it? Double Indemnity with Butch. Mm-hmm. Be there, guys. Be there.
I'll be there for both of the indemnities.
I'll be there for Barbara Stanwyck. All right, guys.
Make it a triple indemnity, and I'm there.
Triple indemnity. Oh my God. Well, here's a question for you guys. I do want to discuss with you guys like how Dark Shadows used other like source material like Frankenstein and stuff. When do you guys want to discuss that?
Whenever you like. Well, what's good for you?
How's Thursday? Is Thursday good?
Thursday would work.
Yeah.
Thursday at 10:30. Okay. Thank you guys for that. I'll see you guys Thursday night. Then I'll see you guys Friday night. You guys have a good rest of the week.